What you want to do from the business podcast standpoint, it builds authority. When you do a quality podcast, again, you're bringing on the right guests, you're presenting the proper contact, builds a lot of authority, gives people an easy access. It's free. They can listen. You can build that know, like, and trust factor and really get that authority stand in front of them.
Most hosts never achieve the results they hoped for. They're falling short on listenership and monetization, meaning their message isn't being heard and their show ends up costing them money. This podcast was created to help you grow your listenership and make money while you're at it. Get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Adam Adams.
What's up, podcaster? It's Adam A. Adams, and I've got a returning guest today. His name's Richard Walsh. So we will connect you with the previous episode he was on more than 2 years ago, which was episode number 45 in the 350 or 360 or 370 range, but back over 300 episodes ago. He was on the podcast about 2 years ago. What that means that I'm averaging 3 a week. I think that's what it means. 3 episodes a week. Richard Walsh, his bio is in the show notes. You can check out the other link when he was on. His company link is in the show notes and also his podcast itself. So that way you can follow him, check him out, get to know him, hire him. He's a business coach. And the podcast name is ETOP. What does ETOP stand for again?
So that's ETOP, Escape the Owner Prison.
Escape.
That's the title of my best.
That's right.
I remember my best-selling book, and I modeled that after that.
Hey, you know what, Richard? When I was looking at your Facebook, we're connected on Facebook. I thought it was interesting, the regiment for your son. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I love to talk about that.
Okay. All right. So right now he's doing 3 workouts every single day. What is this like?
So he's going in the Navy, okay, which we wouldn't be doing 3 workouts a day if he was just going in the Navy. Now, I'm a Marine, okay? He's not going to be a Marine because they don't need to. And we'll leave it at that, okay? No offense to Navy guys out there. They say the Marine Corps is a department of the Navy, but it's the men's department, okay? So
I've never heard that, but I like it.
No, yeah, I love being, I'm not original. So he wants to go on what's called the BUDS program. So that's basic underwater demolition SEALs training. So he wants to be a Navy SEAL. And everybody does. And they all go in there and there's a 90% fail rate. Okay. And most of that's even in the first couple of days. Okay. Well, he's not going to be that. Okay. He's going to make it. He's under no delusions of what it is. He knows exactly what he's up for. So we embarked on about 2.5 months ago. We did about a 5-month program to get him ready. So my whole goal is to increase his probability for success. Okay. So obviously it's a huge physical demand, but really the real demand is mental. Okay. They break you. You break, and it's not, as long as you don't quit, you'll pretty much make it if you got the head for it. Okay. So, but physically, again, the increased probability of success, we need to train properly. Okay, so I'll give you real quick what he does. So in the morning, we do a 45-minute conditioning workout. So that's a lot of body weight, and that includes pull-ups, push-ups, squats, lunges, burpees, you name it. Like, we do a ton of stuff, probably body weight or maybe add weight and stuff like that. Very hard. Do 10 sets of that. So we'll do 100 of everything. Do 500 reps of stuff in the morning. From there, we'll go directly about just less than 30 minutes from there. He'll do a 6 to 10 mile run, which is hills. We're in a very hilly country out here. So do a 6 to 10 mile road run. And that. In the afternoon, we go back for pool, and he'll do 1 to 2 miles of combat side stroke, freestyle. He'll work on treading water, of course, underwater, holding your breath, stuff like that. So he trains on that as well. He was a boxer as well. We were doing the last 2 years, so he will occasionally do bag workouts, or as he did last night, he went and sparred 8 rounds with 4 different guys. So we do this 5 to 6 days a week, depending on the 6 day will vary. And we also have what you saw today at our house in the yard. I've created kind of a little outdoor training. So we'll do like an 80-pound log carry for 60 yards. He'll do 10 burpees. He'll do 60-yard bear crawl. He'll do an 80-pound log carry for 60 yards. He'll run with a 35-pound med ball extended above his head to simulate the boats they run with for 60 yards. Then he'll do a 20-foot rope climb. And then he'll come down, take a 50-pound dumbbell and do a single arm farmer's carry, which is just carried at his side. He'll go 35 yards out, switch hands, do 35 yards back. And we'll do that 5 times. And normally we do that right after his 6-mile run. And we'll do that. So that's the
3 different workouts, and it sounds crazy. And it's because he wants to be in the men's department.
Well, he does. Yeah, he does. But, SEAL, and I train with SEALs and everything else too. So they are the elite warriors of the world, and he wants to be an elite warrior.
Cool.
Okay, he really wants the skills and stuff like that. So, and he has a no quit mindset, and that's why.
And speaking of no quit mindset, I quoted you, and I loved it. I loved the quote. It says, "As long as you don't quit, you'll make it."
That's it.
And I was in junior high, middle school, and my band director made us memorize quotes. And one of the quotes, actually a few of the quotes were about persistence and determination, not quitting, not giving up. One being from Calvin Coolidge. And he basically said, like, it's not how smart you are. It's not how intelligent you are, even how educated you are, or how cool you are, or how funny you are, or how good looking you are. So a lot of those things don't really make somebody successful. But what makes somebody successful is never quitting, never giving up. And so, like, when we're starting a podcast, it's hard. It's brutal. And he's about to go to, I guess it's probably called Hell Week or something. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, in the program, Buds itself is like 35 weeks long.
Oh,
and that's in like week 5. Hell Week is in week 5.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a lot more than people think it is.
Yeah, 35 weeks.
Yeah. Plus
that's
airborne
like
school.
9 months or something? What?
Yeah. With basic and airborne school, it's almost a year to get the whole thing done.
Okay. And well, so first and foremost, I want to take something that you mentioned that I think you've taken with you to your business, also to your business clients that you mentor, you coach them, also to your son, the mindset that you've had to be successful, the mindset that he's having to be successful. And I'm extracting this. As long as you don't quit, you'll make it. As long as you just keep getting back up when you get knocked down, you'll make it. And I am curious how this can tie into you and your journey. I know you have episode 45.
45. Yeah.
You're on for episode 45. And I'm sure you've gotten knocked down in the last 2 years. It's been over 2 years since you've been on. I'm sure you got knocked down as you were starting your business or you started your podcast. How would you feel just to share some of the trials and how you got through them? Just a few ideas, 2 or 3 trials that you've gotten through to get to where you are right now.
Absolutely. Since we're doing it, I'll give you a quick quote too about losing and quitting. The only thing worse than losing is quitting. Okay. So that's kind of a Navy SEAL slogan too, but somebody I'd have on my gym walls, like you come in, I'm like, we just don't want to quit. Right. So again, this perseverance aspect is it's got me through so many things, Adam. Businesses, I've had evolutions in business. You'll have evolutions in podcasts, right? You might start one way, right? And you think it's going really good and maybe you start bringing in guests, but maybe it starts coming up a little short. You're just not getting the quality you want, or maybe you're starting to figure out, maybe this isn't where I really want to go. And again, you're not quitting, but you may redirect, right? You may rebrand, you may redirect, find a new source to move into for podcasting or business. A lot of times, as we try to define our ideal clients, what I find a lot of time training with so many businesses is they really haven't identified who they're talking to, who they're selling to, who they're serving, right? I think when we do podcasting, one thing I learned is like, I really have to understand the ideal person. If you're general and you're trying, well, I talk to everyone in business. Okay, it's a pretty wide net. So what I want to do is really get down to what do I do in business? And not necessarily my job, but like the things I want to focus on talking about. And mine is performance, systemization, strategy, and scaling. Okay, so I want to talk about those 4 things. So I'm bringing on guests. We're not going to talk a lot about marketing and stuff like that, right? Because there's a million people who do that. So I want to do things that move the business needle. Okay, so I focus on that because that's my expertise. So that's one thing, and I've had to adjust on that and make sure I get that going right. Okay, branding is another thing. Branding is a really hard thing to get dialed in, and people will bounce around on it. They'll start with this or this color or this look or this name. They got to find their image, and they have to understand the difference between branding and even marketing. Right? There's a difference. When people look and either see your logo or your brand, it should evoke a feeling. Right? You shouldn't go, oh, a plumber. Okay, there should be there's a difference, right? There's a difference to see whether it's confidence, there's reputation, integrity, stuff like that, right? So that's the thing we bounce around, especially when we're new in something, whether it's business or a podcast, which of course a podcast can be a great business as well. So I think a couple of those things, as you persevere in this, I think the best takeaway you can have, whatever you're doing, okay, do it with confidence. And I also tell people, ignorance on fire will really get you a long ways. So don't think you have to know everything. Don't be perfect. Just get out there and do it and make your mistakes and keep moving. That's the no quit part. If you think you're going to be flawless, look out. okay, it's going to be a disaster. Okay.
Yeah.
Plus, you're never going to get anything done, right? You probably know this. If you're waiting to be perfect, you're not going to launch anything because it's never going to be good enough for you, right? I'm sure you've experienced that.
For sure. I want to talk a little bit about what you do for a living.
Mhm.
So you are a business coach, right?
Correct.
You mentioned earlier, you said, I really have to understand the ideal person.
Right.
Like rather than talking to a whole bunch of people, but you think about that one person and then you basically had those 4 things that he or she needs to know.
Right.
Can you share a little bit about how you go about thinking through how your podcast amplifies your business, who you serve in the business and the podcast, how you serve them, and share it with us in a way like if we don't do that exact thing, we're still able to learn how to implement kind of what you're doing.
Right. And that last part you said is the big point. There's no one way to do anything. Okay. And there's good practices, right? There's following people who have been where you want to go. That's all good stuff, right? So what I did, Sharpen the Spear, which is Sharpen the Spear coaching is what I do. So we talk about my ideal client. What I have to do is define who, because my main way to connect with people is in-person workshops. So I do these one-day workshops, anywhere from 10 to 30 people in the group, sometimes larger. What I do is I spend a day and I go through performance, systemization, strategy, and scalability, and what that looks like in their business. What I start out with, Adam, is I give them a business assessment. It's the 12 areas of their business that everyone has. Okay, every business has it. And there's yes/no questions to begin. There's about 14 questions each one. There's 159 questions. You take that, it gives you a score. Okay, so each section is worth 300 points, 3,600 points. So that gives you a score to know where you're at right now with your business. It's very detailed and it's really eye-opening. Most people score really low, okay, because they just haven't looked at their business that way. So that's where I start. Okay, so they bring that to the workshop, and then now they're able to follow along with that, and we walk through all these different sections, not all 12, but we walk through systemization, and we can do some leadership and stuff like that. So in that search for those people for the workshop, that's my ideal client profile. So what I do is look for, okay, who do I want? Do I want startups? Do I want to get 10 people in here who are just starting a business? No. Okay. And people ask me why. So look, I love startups, but they have to go to an incubator program. Okay. Because startups, as I like to say, they don't have enough scars. Okay. You've got to figure out what you're doing, get out there, make some mistakes and everything else so that you can appreciate what you really need to do. Because you don't know what you don't know and trying to get into me. Plus, and I'm just being straight up honest, in startup mode, you're usually broke. Okay. You don't know anything, right? Or you're looking for money, all that. So they're not really in a position to get a high-end coach to come in and work with them. But again, they also don't appreciate, they don't have an understanding of what they really need. My ideal client profile is 5 to 15 years in business, 5 to 50 employees are doing at least $1 million a year in revenue or more. Okay. There's a few other.
Well, quick question. Sure. What if they were only doing 700,000 in revenue?
Okay.
What would happen?
I would not exclude them. They're not my ideal client profile. It's not like they couldn't come. Okay. Because there are people in startup mode who are heavily capitalized. Okay, then that could work. Okay, because the coaching, obviously you have to pay for coaching. It's not a free thing. It's a decent number. Okay, so there's always exceptions, Adam. So that's great. You could also do 750,000 a year, and you're running at like an 85% margin because you're a consultant. Okay, so you got money, right? So there's always the exceptions. Not like, but any business you have to at least identify your ideal client. You're going to get the outliers and stuff. That's great. And again, we do it individually, anyways. It's not like
random question that's kind of going along those same lines. Why does your ideal client stop at 50 employees? Why is it's you said 5 to 50? Why would somebody who had like 150 employees, why would they be like not the ideal person? What's wrong with how you guys would work together out of curiosity?
Okay, here in general, if you've gotten to be able to have 150 employees, a lot of stuff that we teach, you're doing. Okay, because 50 to 150 is a huge leap. Okay. Technically, a small business owner is 499 employees and under. That's still a small business, right? I know when my client, I know where they're at. And believe me, I have clients who come in, they're in business 40 years. They're doing 25 million a year, but they have 40 employees, 45 employees. Okay. Great. I'm working with them. I'm doing great things for them. So again, when you get to 150, 200, 400, you can't get there without doing a lot of the stuff that I'm teaching.
Okay.
Now, how they got there, how long it took them, or what, but they finally figured it out, or someone did, right? So that's why I would do that.
Okay.
So understanding my market. Now, if I was this high-end interim CEO program, I'd come into a place like that, take over, and I'd make some real high-level change. That'd be different. So that'd be a different business model than what I do. Okay, makes sense?
Yeah. And so let's think through like how the podcast and the business go hand in hand. What does the podcast do for the business?
Okay. So when we talked about branding a few minutes ago, this is part of it, right? This is an extension. So we need the same look, the same feel. We need to talk about the same things we're doing in the business, right? So they go hand in hand because it's exposure. Now, we do both. I do the podcast and I'm guests on podcasts. The key for that for me is to do both. I want to bring on great guests, love podcasts, and I love interviewing. It's probably my favorite thing I do. Yeah, it probably is because I can just do it. I'm not really looking for anything. I get stuff, but that is like a business. You got some real goals and stuff. Podcasts, and I'm just enjoying myself, meeting great people and sharing incredible wisdom. But what you want to do from the business podcast standpoint, it builds authority, right? Just like I'm a best-selling author, that builds authority. I'm working on my second book, The Sharpen the Spear. I'm working on that. So these things build authority. So when you do a quality podcast, again, you're bringing on the right guests, you're presenting the proper contact, builds a lot of authority, gives people an easy access. It's free. They can listen. You can build that know, like, and trust factor and really get that authority stand in front of them. You know, people start to share it. All of a sudden, you got 50,000 downloads. That's a very economical way to reach a whole lot of people.
I have a question, Richard. Since you serve business owners, this is kind of like a two-part question because it's what do you tell the business owner? What do you suggest? What do you try to help them with? And are you like following the same advice type of thing? So the question being, are you working 40, 50, 60 hours a week? Are you working 100, 120? Are you working 5 or 10? And what do you share with your client on should they be working their ass off? Should they just be burning the candle from both ends? Should they try not to work at all and just be on vacation all the time? Where are you in your idea and thoughts of where should we strive to be?
Okay. So obviously every business is different. Okay. And also time in business, right? If you're in startup mode, you're going to be working. There's no 20-hour weeks. Okay. You're going to be working your 40s or 60s, whatever. You hear it all. Now, I'm not a fan of the hustle and grind culture. I think that's just a lie. It's just a marketing tool for people. Because what it does, if you're not making $1 trillion a year, you're lazy. That's what that says. It's like you constantly got to be just harder all the time. I'm like, it's not sustainable. Okay. I go into businesses and I make them stop doing that. And guess what happens? They double and triple the revenue. They work half to a third as much business, but the business now is billing properly. They're charging the right prices. They've got all the right people in place to manage this, right? So it completely alters what it is. And the owner, I have a philosophy, Adam, and it's my goal is to get the owner to focus on the 5% of the business that only they can work on, only they can do. So if you only worked on 5% of your business, and that would be maybe growth and vision and stuff like that, not let me do the books, let me sweep the floors, let me run the management, let me just go out and check the job sites or whatever it is, right? I don't want that. I have to remove them from that. But in order to do that, what we do in the business, we have to systemize. We have to create systems and processes that people can work in, right? People come and go, systems stay. So we perfect a system that we can put people into easily and they can get up to speed, they can operate without micromanagement, right? They understand exactly where they're going in the business. They understand their expectations, their boundaries, where they're going, what's expected of them, level through level through level. So we build all that out for them. That then begins to remove the owner. Now he goes from 60, 80 hours a week to 40, down to 35, down to 30, down to 20. My goal is to really get him about 10 hours a week. Okay. So, and that's not next week. Okay. It's in time. You're going to be between 10 and 15 hours a week. Again, like I said, I work at businesses. They've been doing business for 47 years, very successful, making a lot of money. They'll even tell you, because I always ask this, like, you're never 100% removed. You can't. Okay. Now you can, if someone writes you a check and they buy the business, that's when you're 100% removed. Okay. You're going to go, but you can systemize where literally 10 hours a week that's 2 hours a day. Some of that's even remote. So, but the captain still has to get on the helm once in a while, right? And check courses and things like that, where we go on and make sure we're getting where we're going, right? Really important. So that's what I teach businesses. get all those 12 points I talked about earlier. Again, the performance is cash flow, right? Performance is making money. Most business owners, most entrepreneurs can make money. That's really not their issue. Their issue is systemization, strategy, meaning long-term planning. What are we really doing? And then scalability. How do you truly scale? We've all seen the businesses that have grown, then all of a sudden they're gone because they outpaced themselves. They weren't ready for a massive scale. They could have done a second or third location, but they went for 25 and now they're done. So that's kind of, I hope that answers
Yeah, you can grow too fast.
Absolutely.
I had an idea that I wanted to have like 1,000 clients at least. And we had at the time, I don't know, 20-ish. Now we're close to 60 or 70. But for a long time, I was like, I want to get to 1,000. And then I got to where I wasn't working very much, but my income was still fine. I was really happy with it. It was 5 figures a month that I could easily pay myself. And I was happy. And I kind of like stopped trying to go for the 1,000 because every time I tried to get to like a bigger level, it came with more problems, more effort, more attention, more fires to put out. And I just said to myself one day, I go, you know what? Like, I'm making plenty of money and I only had to work a few hours a week. I just want to keep doing this. And so I like forgoed even worrying about 1,000 people because that was just some fictitious number that in a way it would make me feel like I could prove myself to the world.
Right.
Like I could have an outside thing to show to people that I was worthy, right? It was like a thing that would make me feel good or make me think that people would look at me better. But I just ignored it because, like you said, I don't really buy into the culture of hustle and grind. And so I loved that. Let's take a break.
Okay.
When we get back, I'm going to have you share one thing that you definitely want to share. And I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about what you've learned in the last couple of years as well.
Awesome.
So it'll be something from your heart and something that you got in the last couple of years. We'll be right back. Hey, my friend, as you know, this episode is sponsored by my company, growyourshow.com. We want you to be able to have the best tools at your disposal without costing you a whole arm and a leg. So right now you can get a free list of vetted equipment that like mics, mixers, webcams, sound treatment, editing software, everything that you need. I created the whole PDF with direct purchase links just to save you time and money, to help it be more convenient for you. So this free PDF will help you skip all the guesswork. If it's on there, it's vetted and approved by yours truly. And if it's not on there, it's probably not worth the money. So go ahead and get yours at growyourshow.com/PDF. Let's get back into the show. We're back with Richard Walsh, and this has been a fun conversation. As you remember, he was on episode 45, over 300 episodes ago, over 2 years ago. And I wanted to find out what has he learned in the last couple of years of podcasting since the time that he was on the show. And I wanted him to finish with just something that comes straight from his heart that he wants to pour into you. His links are all in the show notes. So his website is there. You can go to his podcast from there, ETOP, which is Escape the Owner Prison. He does workshops pretty often where it's 1 day workshop with 10 to 30 people, like small groups, where he really pours in about the 4 things, which I think are performance, systemization, strategy, and scalability.
You're the man. Yeah, it's awesome.
Perfect. He shared a little bit about as long as you don't quit, you're going to make it. He talked about the only thing worse than losing is quitting. He talked about I really have to understand my ideal person, the ideal avatar. He's got to know that person. Now let's turn over to this big thing that happened in the last couple of years, and then whatever you want to share from your heart, Richard.
You got it. So, Adam, it's really a 2-part thing. I'll kind of dovetail on the last thing you talked about, scaling your business. Okay, there's a great analogy I like to use. And think of an apple tree. Okay, do you want an 800-foot apple tree? Okay, because I tell people, okay, it's growing. So we can think Amazon. Okay, something like that, apple tree. But you got the 800-foot apple tree, and I'd say, what only grows continuously? What's one of the things that never stops growing? And that'd be a cancer, right? And what does it do? It kills its host. Okay, so what would I rather have instead of an 800-foot apple tree?
I'm loving this.
Okay,
I'm loving this. This is so interesting.
So what would I want instead of an 800-foot apple tree? But I really like apples.
Yeah, just like a regular sized apple tree.
Right, and then what? How about another apple tree? And then another one. And they call that an orchard. I could have another business and another business and another business because I know how to systemize, I know how to perform, I know how to strategize, I know how to scale. So my goal would be, because I just did this with a client, we finished his main custom home building. He got to purchase another business at an incredible cost. In 2 months, we've already completely systemized it. It's on track to do a 50% increase from the previous one. It's amazing, right? Because he treated it like another apple tree. So that I just wanted to add that. It's a big takeaway for people. If you can think about things, not everybody's into multiple businesses, and I understand that, right? But when you know how to do it, it's attractive because you know how you can get it to run. So I'll tell you, one of the big things I've learned too, Adam, over the last couple of years is whether it's podcasting or business, you have to be incredibly selective on who you work with. And I don't just mean who your customers are, though we talked about that's very important. I'll really talk on partners, right? You're going to join forces. We'll just call it join forces. Whether there's a legal connection there or not. The big thing I learned was it's seldom when two people are either on the same page or bring very unique skills to the table. They have to be very, very separate and unique skills to the table. Otherwise, that's a person you could hire. Okay, because I always want to be able to let that person go because you're going to run into a lot of issues with that and you waste a lot of time. You can learn some things, but you end up either getting a bad relationship, breaking this off. It can even bring your business or podcast down, right? You get a co-host and maybe you're really not on the same page and the whole thing can go nuts, right? So we want to make sure, and again, I just went through this a few times on things and thinking I'm going the right direction. Really, I'm an all or nothing guy. So when we say yes, we say go, let's go, right? But eventually you get going and you realize, okay, well, I'm driving a Ferrari and you're driving a Honda. Okay, we're not going to keep up with each other. I like 140 miles an hour. You like 45. Okay, we're not going to work well together. I got to get things done. Okay, so just something to remember on that. Okay, for me, that was a big thing. From a podcasting standpoint, too, one of the things I learned from ETOP Podcast, I did a lot of podcasts. I do like 30 a month, right? I would just do a lot of recordings and stuff like that. And I just put them out there. One of the things I started doing was really going, okay, I'm going to have one day a week. I'm going to launch a podcast. Okay. I really had to, because I'm 140 miles an hour. Interview 3 people a day, get them all out there, just load up my thing with everything. So I found because I looked at myself and how I listen to podcasts, there's a few that I listen to like weekly. And guess what? They come out the same day every week. And only one comes out. I look forward to it. I go, well, wouldn't that be good for me? I should be doing the same thing because, again, I'm not trying to overload people with content. I'm trying to have high quality stuff that's worth tuning into. Like people will watch a favorite show back in the day on TV. Now you can, Netflix it or whatever. But I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. And I'm thinking through it and I really do agree. I really am there with you. So I appreciate you sharing what you've learned over the last couple of years and about that orchard versus like just a giant apple answer. And yeah, just a lot of cool things. And I'm wanting to think through them all again because we went through so many cool things on the episode. Let me ask you this, in case the listener is considering working with you.
Uh-huh.
I think one natural question is, how long does somebody work with you? It's not right now. I'm not asking about the money, like however much it costs. I know it's a good amount, but right now I'm really thinking about like time because you mentioned one of your coaching clients who had a contracting business that I think scaled it and bought another business. And it took, I think you said like 2 months. So I'm curious, like if we are thinking about hiring you as a business coach, is it a place where thinking, all right, I'm going to start working with Richard and I'll probably work with him the rest of my life? Is it, hey, I'm going to hire him just for 1 hour session? Or is it somewhere in between where it's like, hey, I really want to go from my 10 employees to my 50 employees. Don't know how. Maybe I could work with someone who's done that with other people for a few months. And then the relationship is over. What should we be planning for?
12 months. I have a 12-month program because that's how long it takes. Okay, to walk through everything, get everything implemented and do that. Basically get your business fully systemized, get your strategic visions in place, get all these different elements of your business. So when you look at my custom home builder, we did the 12 months And then, okay, we're good. This has been awesome. It's like, I mean, you really get some incredible relationships because we do so much, because we change businesses so much. We did that. And then, okay, we're done. And then a couple weeks go by and he goes, hey, I got this opportunity. Can I talk to you about this opportunity I have to buy the business? Okay, as we talk about it, and I go, okay, well, you know what to do. If you need me, let me know. So he goes through the process, he buys it and just says, hey, I'm ready to go. I kind of know what to do. Can we do 2 months? Okay. He's a previous client, been through the whole 12-month program, so he knows what to do. So now we're in month 2. Okay. He's owned the business for 2 months now. We got 1 more month, and I'm just giving him a little bit of marching orders. We're just he's bringing it for counsel. Good idea, bad idea. Try this, do this, do this. It's very tactical, and he puts them in place. You know, when the guy's a doer, when he's an implementer, it's a beautiful thing. So that's how that will work. I also do tactical, like you said, the 1 hour. I actually do what I call tactical hour. Okay. And people can get an hour and you literally bring your biggest problems and I solve them. Okay. I do it in my workshops. I bring people up, hot seat, sit down, tell me what the issue is. And we're going to all workshop this right now. And me or everyone in the room will all fix people's problems business wise. A lot of fun. It's really good. So that opportunity as well. But normally the 12 months is the way to go because it handles everything in your business. So
cool. Mm-hmm. Man, I could ask a lot more questions, but I think we've gotten a ton of good value. So I'll remind the listener, the link to the company for Richard Walsh in the show notes, the link to his podcast in the show notes, and any social media that he wanted to share is in the show notes. So you can just scroll down, check that out. We did get lots of cool information, lots of value. Also, feel free to check out episode 45. From 2 years ago. Yeah. It's still relevant today. There's still a lot of really good stuff in there. We talked about marketing and branding businesses and business growth. And like podcasting as a marketing platform is the title of it. We talked about all of those things, and there's a lot of good value as well. We talked about systemizing and a couple different, what are they called, tools that can make your life easier on that episode as well. So remember, please, that every other episode is a solo episode. So I take some time to do research to find out what you're going through, what you're looking for. So you as a podcaster, you're listening, just know that the very next episode after this is curated for you. It's generally pretty short and packed with a punch. I will see you there. Don't go away. By the way, one way to ensure that you don't miss out on great content that we're producing on a regular basis is to make sure you're subscribed to the show. You need to be subscribed or following the Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to it in order not to miss all of that. And before I let you go, I need to mention, because a lot of people are asking, do you help? Can you help me with this? And the answer is yes. My company actually does it. It's called Grow Your Show. And you can find that at growyourshow.com. Our clients, they call us the easy button for podcaster because they simply have to record their episode. And they know that every single thing else is done for them. We sweat the hard stuff so you can be the star of your show. And if you would like help to make sure that we're editing and publishing and promoting and doing your social media, it's all in one place. And I think it's pretty affordable. You'll have to take a look for yourself. Just go to growyourshow.com and check us out. And by the way, I'll see you on the next episode.